This guy's dead. This guy's dead.
We can kill him. We can kill him.
Finish the tower. All right. Tower. I got the tower. Pretend the tower doesn't exist.
Okay, we're good.
We're gonna fight right here. Cutie pie.
I'm really low.
Okay. We got him.
Fuck. Nice.
I have a lantern.
He's slowed. I'm nothing. I got it.
Oh,
careful.
Hey,
They're blues up.
Take their blue. Back up. We got too much.
All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm here with CLG's double lift after their last win. Congratulations, first of all. So, CLG fans, really the first question is going to be, have you fixed your stuff yet? When is CLG going to be a consistent team?
Pretty much never, but no, I'm just kidding. I think we fixed our problems. Like, this is what I've been wanting to talk about for a long time, is like our problems are, they're like a work in progress, but I feel like we've fixed like 80–90% of our like big problems, and we're like always working towards like making it perfect. And
yeah, continue.
But for some reason in LCS we just like really suck. I don't know why, but like in LCS everything just goes like crazy, and we just like end up sucking really hard. But I don't know. We have a lot of talks after every loss. We take it really hard. We're like, wow, this is awful. Like, how do we make sure it doesn't happen again? And we sit down for like hours and we just talk about how to make sure that these problems don't just like keep happening. So I don't know. I feel like we've improved a lot, and like our score in LCS doesn't necessarily reflect how good we are.
So today you had Shen banned out against you guys, but you actually lost yesterday with it and with the split pushing strategy that CLG is known for. What kind of went on yesterday?
Oh yeah, so yesterday, that was just 2 bad calls that just lost us the game. We had like a dragon call and a blue call, and those pretty much just lost us the game. And also, I don't know, it was just a really horrible game. Those 2 calls just kind of snowballed us into this really bad position where I could never split push. I was always stuck mid, which is like, if I'm playing Vayne, like I don't want to be mid lane. That's so stupid. But we talked about it after. We're just like, okay, it was 2 bad calls, and if I'm playing Vayne, like I always want to be split pushing a side lane or like making plays somewhere. So obviously that reflects like this game against Signitas, where I was never mid lane, I was always split pushing, making plays, and then I would only group with my team if like we were going to take a Baron or a tower.
So you guys also have a coach now. Does he help out with games like that after you lose, or is it more internal, just the team?
He's more like a songwriter and just like a motivational speaker. No, I'm just kidding. Monty's he's really smart. He's a really smart guy. He really just wants NA to be better. And even though like people hype him up to be like this Korean fanboy, like blah blah, Korea's the best scene, I don't think he wants that to be the case. I think he just kind of like thinks that way and he accepts that, but he really wants NA to step it up. And so like he's really accelerating how fast we analyze our gameplay, how we think about the game, and like he's a big reason why I think we're really strong, but obviously our LCS score isn't very good.
Well, definitely Alex Penn, Cloud9's coach, has done a great job and helped them out a lot. So that's probably a good strategy for you guys. Another thing that came out in this game was the very early GA, second item on Vayne. What was behind the thought process behind that purchase?
Yeah, they had a reset comp, and they also had double AD with Kha'Zix and Ezreal. And I was thinking, like, do I need more damage? Like, how much is a Phantom Dancer going to like help me in this game? You know? So because I towned with 2,800 gold because I was really fed, and I was like, well, if Phantom Dancer is not going to do that much, like I'm going to kill someone in another 2 seconds, like faster. But I could just buy a GA. And I would be literally unkillable. And so that's just like kind of insurance. Like some AD carries, I'm like known for this. I'm like known for being really greedy and like getting as much damage as possible, well, with no defensive stats. But that was just a game where you can't mess up if you buy a GA that early.
So did you convey that to Link then also? Because I saw him coordinate his build as well.
Me and Link just had a small back and forth. He's like, GA is the best item in this game because they have a reset comp. And I was like, yeah, it is. And I town bought a GA. I'm like, I have a GA. It's 20 minutes. Like, we should group and fight. And Link's like, oh, okay. So I didn't even realize that he was buying a GA at that time. But we have back and forth about our item builds.
Great minds think alike then, I guess. So
yeah.
On a more personal note, I've heard that you've been trying to get your driver's license recently. How is that going for you?
It's like the worst experience of my life. Like the DMV, I've only been in the DMV once before, and it had like no lines. But when I went to the DMV this time, it was the worst. Like shout outs to the DMV, they're good, but they're like, I just don't like how it's just an excruciating process. And I didn't bring my glasses. That's my manager's fault, by the way. It's all his fault. So I couldn't do my vision test. So I like went and I took the permit test, and you can only miss 6 questions, right? And I missed 6 questions, and I was like, yes, like I barely made it. And I still have to go back though to get my driver's permit because I didn't do my vision test.
How is the actual driving going? Do you have someone teaching you the actual driving on the road?
Oh no, I'm gonna do like some sort of series or something with Travis, and he's gonna teach me. But I don't think I can practice driving until I have my permit. So I'm gonna get my permit, like, I don't know, in a couple weeks.
All right, so we've got TSM and Vulcan coming up next. Would you care to weigh in on this match?
I think it's a toss-up, honestly. Like, Vulcan was really strong coming into the season, but recently they haven't been playing so hot. I think they tried to imitate Cloud9 a little bit too much with their style and picks. But I don't know, TSM has also been like, they've been stepping up and Vulcan's been stepping down. So I think it's like a 50-50 match. It's gonna be really close.
Okay, cool. So specifically, you guys are gonna play Vulcan your last match also. How do you feel like your team is gonna stack up against them?
I think Vulcan's drafting has always been really unpredictable, but recently it's been really predictable. I don't know. We've always had a big problem against Vulcan. Like, all of our games, we've just gotten stomped, or when we win against Vulcan, it's like super close. So I don't know. I just hope we accelerate our gameplay a lot more, because Vulcan is not a team that knows how to close out a game. If you drag it to like mid-late game, they're not as good.
So definitely pay attention to the champion select of that game for the viewers. Thanks for the interview, Double Lift. Congratulations to CLG on your first win today. And now we're going to send it back over to the desk with Riv and Jat.
Thank you very much, Kobe. And that was, you know, it's going to be scary if the roads start getting as scary as solo queue does.
It's interesting. Buying the car before the license is one strategy.
It's kind of like the GA before the Phantom Dancer.
Maybe. No, that's the safe thing. He needs insurance.
Oh, yeah, you're right. They need the insurance.
Okay.
Oh, boy. Recently, Curse welcomed a guest into their gaming house, Adam, a.k.a. Laser Beams, who you may remember from last year's playoffs.
He spent 24 hours getting to know the guys and learned some of their deepest secrets. Here's a quick look at the special time he got to share with Curse.
Mr. Cop, your League of Legends account disappears somehow. Who's getting punched in the face first?
Laser Beams.
I know him.
Oh.
And he's actually a nice guy.
Oh.
Tell me a secret.
I'm 25.
You're in the middle of a tournament game. If you don't get up, you will pee your pants on stream and everyone will know. Do you abandon your teammates or wet your pants?
Piss my pants.
Piss his pants. If you continue using your current summoner's name, your face will break out in a ferocious rash. What would your new name be?
Wait, what kind of rash?
Tell me a secret.
Tell you a secret? Damn, I can't tell you any right now. I don't trust you with that mustache.
Ask me a question.
No.
Great.
And you can check out the full episode of Adam's Sleepover at lolesports.com. But right now, it's time for our second match of the day, Curse versus Velocity Esports. And yesterday, Velocity's new lineup fell to Cloud9. But so far this split, everyone's lost to Cloud9, so that's not that big of a thing to be ashamed of.
Yeah, and Velocity's game yesterday had a tremendous early game against Cloud9, but then when Velocity attempted Dragon, they got a little bit crushed in the team fight, and it all went downhill from there. But it was a good start, so they should take some confidence from that game.
Right, and while Velocity's new lineup cooled off, Curse continued to heat up. They took down CLG for their 4th win in their last 5 games.
Yeah, Curse started to look like the team that dominated most of the spring split, and the team people expected with Edward. Over their last 3 wins, only one of their players had more deaths than kills, so they have some good stats and some one-sided victories lately.
The last time Curse took on Velocity, Maple Street and crew got a ton of kills and won a 51-minute marathon that evened up the season series at 1 game apiece.
Yeah, in that game, Maple Street showed off his Twitch and went 11-1-7 with that Sword of the Divine for the win. And so far this season, if Maple Street has a big game, then Velocity wins. And if Maple Street struggles, so does his team. Someone needs to step up and carry Velocity when Maple Street has a poor or even average game. So if they want to start putting up consistent wins to make a playoff run, they need more than one person to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we're just moments away from seeing if Velocity's AD can carry once again, or if Curse is simply going to walk all over Maple Street. Let's check out the starting lineups as we get into the game. On blue side, it's Curse. Voyboy in the top lane, St. Vicious in the jungle, Jackie in mid, Comp on AD as calm as usual, and Edward on support.
And in the red side, we have Velocity Esports and the top of Rose's head in top lane, and K-Ink in jungle, Echo in mid, Maple Street on AD, and of course Evan Niskus on support.
And as we head into Champion Select, think about all the things that you said. You know, you have Maple Street on that Twitch. He also, I think last time I interviewed him, he's like the 5 Dravens, 5 Varus, some Tristani. He brought out the Vayne last time, so he's super versatile. And his Draven was one of the top ones, which we've seen people start to wean off of due to the recent balance on his early game.
Exactly, and people who have been playing Draven do seem to be going back to Twitch a little bit, and that could very well be one of the contested picks in this game between Cop and Maple Street, because coming into the LCS, Maple Street was kind of the Draven player. 80% of his ranked AD carry games were actually on that champion. Got to see how it plays out when we get in.
Twitch was crazy for Cop, as you mentioned that a little bit. He was actually initiating fights solely. If you remember Daydream and Zyra getting caught out 1 or 2 times just from the expunge he would go in. And we saw to huge effect Wild Turtle playing Twitch yesterday. So just in general, what that champion can do with these guys.
Yeah, and Cop has had probably the biggest transformation we've seen an AD carry go through almost ever in North America. Just the complete change in playstyle, because back in the day, back in Season 2, Cop was very outspoken in modeling his playstyle after Chaos, which was very much kind of sit in the back of the team, provide as much auxiliary damage, and then after everyone's low, you would go in and take the kills. But you always make sure you're alive at the end. That's not the type of AD carry play that was getting him very far, and that's not the type of AD carry play that meshed with Curse's playstyle. So once they brought in Edward, this split in the last few months, Cop has completely changed the way he plays. He plays the aggressive AD carries, and he is not sitting in the back. Oftentimes, he is flashing into fights in front of tanks in the right situations and making it work. So it is a complete transformation, and that's a very hard thing to do for players.
And as we said, these guys are 1-1, or 1-1 coming into each other. 1 win, 1 loss for each. Top lane is Voyboy, considered to be, you know, one of the most experienced, the veteran in the top lane in any 2v1 or 1v1 situation. He may want he wants that Vile Rose nonetheless, but he may not get it. How do you think that would fare off?
If they get the 1v1, that's something Vile Rose needs to be a little bit concerned with, because Voyboy was kind of the person who crushes lanes as hard as possible, whereas Vile Rose is just always really confident with everything he does. Vile Rose hasn't even shown that many different champions in the top lane, and Voyboy has shown almost every champion in the game in the top lane. This matchup should be in Voyboy's favor, and if Vile Rose could actually just match up against Voyboy and hold his own, that would be quite a statement, really, since Vile Rose just recently switched to top lane.
We got to remember, one of the games that they played was that Voyboy on Shen. His 5-0 pushing inhibitors, whatever, and then 6-1 and 12 in the end of that game when he played against Velocity. So he definitely knows how to play one of Vile's favorites, and he's really one of the ones to pioneer that. Well, not pioneer it, but, you know, keep it going.
Yeah, he seems like a player who loves to play unconventional champions, but Voyboy can still default back to the solid champions. And I don't think he's ever going to change his name from Curse Voyboy, because what kind of rash means he likes the name. So I think it's going to be a good one for them.
We'll see what they can do as they get into the matchup. We did have Karthus being played by Nijaki last time, so the global presence was there with Shen and Karthus. I don't think Velocity is going to let that through. To mention again, this is the first time that they're going to be with the Vile Rose and Echo in mid, so Curse is adjusting to that, and maybe we'll see their focus change in the early game as well because of it.
Yeah, and coming into today as well, Curse is at 8-10, which is the same as Dignitas's and the same as COG's record. So depending on their result in this game, they'll put themselves into a tie with COG if they win and Dignitas if they lose. These are long-standing rivalries these guys have with their teams. And if Curse consistency last split is an indication, they actually thrive against the weaker teams in the league, the teams that are low in the standings, because the way they can come back in games, and at least people like Nijaki can play consistently in games, tunes themselves to beat all the teams that are even a little bit worse than them.
Waiting on a quick audio issue that we're going to get fixed up here. You can see Nijaki clicking around. We also have Breck doing his thing, one of the audio guys in the studio. Very, very good at his job.
Got to keep the audio going.
Got to keep the audio going. It's kind of an imperative thing here to have audio when you're commentating and watching people play video games.
Well, specifically the headset system we have set up here, those are soundproof headsets, so the other teams can't hear each other. Nijaki's saying hi. Everyone's watching the 25-year-old Nijaki split
the secretly 25-year-old.
He doesn't have his glasses on today.
No, he doesn't.
I have to say I approve. He doesn't need them because they don't have lenses.
They're lensless. But it's the fashion statement.
Yeah.
He rocks it out. Let's see what they do. Saint wearing his all-star jacket. Yeah, why wouldn't he be? Everybody does, right? Dyrus always walks around the house, popping his collar. Saints always has his on. We'll have to see. Did you see Saint's jacket on eBay. I think there's a few fake votes in there.
He
but
had
he was trying to
it wasn't his, it was his MVP.
The MVP, right.
From
Hoodie.
one of the IEM series.
Ronzo?
Yeah, they were saying that the top bids for that thing were around $1,200 or $1,300, but there were some fake bids up around 10 grand. But still, it's esports memorabilia from pro players. It's emerging industry. It was for charity, obviously. But it's very interesting to see how valuable and how much that was fetching.
And something that, you know, the teams do a lot. They don't just sit at home and play all the time. Curse is, I think, one of the teams, and I know CLG does it, I know TSM does it, but Curse really making it public that they do quite a bit of charity a lot. We actually just saw in EU that Crepo and whatnot helped that, helped that guy get over to the LCS and, you know, experience that for his wish.
And I like how as we're progressing as an esport right now, it's becoming more and more public. And just like professional athletes in other sports, you do the charity work and you give stuff back. And it's really great to see the LCS teams embracing that so quickly and readily.
It's tough, too, because you have a big regimen. You know, you have people on your back saying you guys need to win games, but you also want to show that it's real in a way and it's not just one focus. You guys are actually trying to better a lot of things around as a whole in a brand, too.
And I got to say, Curse does one of the better jobs of the teams of just doing the community outreach. They've been around for a while. I know Liquid, Steve, their manager, actually pushes them for that kind of stuff frequently. And it's tough for them because their team that lives in Las Vegas, they do have to make that trip every single week. LCS every single week. They need to change their play styles like Coppetsine all the time. It's tough work.
And not only does that lead into what, you know, help make a brand for the team is just on the side while you're helping people, is that it's team bonding, it's team building. It allows everybody to realize, you know, how do you take a situation and such. Vile Rose and the team, and you can see Avaniscus there, they have still been getting together in their house. It's kind of the early part, not early part of the season, but a rush into the season for them.
And obviously teams that are in last place of the league have as much adversity to deal with as anyone else. You'll grow up fast if you're a losing League of Legends team here in the LCS. Maple Street himself has said he's had some trouble dealing with the criticism. I think he's responded to the criticism pretty well because after all that blew up when they were 2-12, they came into the next week at 4-12 or 4-14. They are starting to peel some things back up. I like the way Velocity is kind of coming together here. They got a lot of work to do for the rest of the season, though. They've made their roster changes. Those are tough decisions to make. These guys are friends, and they're trying to get along between the delay, but they're friends as well as business partners, so it's very difficult situations to remain happy.
It is one, and I don't think a lot of people kind of understand that situation of friends and business. It can be one of the deadliest things that is out there in a situation like this.
Yeah, the last thing you want to do is to keep a person on your team who's underperforming just because you like them or because even if you realize they're not going to turn it around at the end. I know Edward had to make an incredibly difficult decision leaving Gambit Gaming to come over to Curse only because he had been on that team for years. Those guys were friends. He said their manager Groove was like a father to him as well, and very difficult to leave a situation like that, but he did it because he felt it was the best for him.
All right, guys, we have the audio fixed up. Both teams are ready and raring to go, and we are into Champion Select. That Karthus will not see play. The Shen was also in this last game, so we'll see if he gets banned out too.
Well, there we go. No Karthus. That's a sad day for Echo. I really wonder if they're going to ban Twisted Fate, and the answer is yes. So there's no more Echo with Twisted Fate. Echo had jumped out to a couple leads on TF, and it's smart that Curse has decided to ban that away.
And a lot of things that NK Inc. has been playing lately, not a lot, but he played Evelyn here and there, and it's been huge for them. He usually goes up 2 or 3 kills, has a hand in first blood, but it doesn't seem like the team can synergize behind it as it gets to mid to late game.
It's often banned as well. So I actually think if Eve gets through, there's a really good chance that we're going to see NK Inc. on Eve. NK Inc. was playing Eve during Velocity's comeback win the last time these teams played against each other. It's very threatening for him, and I like Curse's bans mainly targeting Echo because so many people have been targeting Vile Rose lately, and he's actually been responding fairly well, and it's Echo who's been running away with games. Smart to go for him.
I could see this becoming a Velocity, not poke comp, but more of that range comp. Maybe an Ari or a Lux back for Echo. We haven't really seen him since, I think, his first play here for us. He put Lux
He's a good
in
Ari
there.
player.
Very good Ari player as well. And we haven't seen the Nidalee as much anymore. I loved that last spring when there were just the spears coming out of everywhere. But nonetheless, we may get a Jarvan locked in. I believe Boy has taken that to him by himself to the top lane as well. As we get swapped around, smiles on the faces of all the teams as they decide what to pick.
I got a little happy when I saw the Victor, and then I realized that it was not real.
It's not Nick Wu.
There's no way we're going to see a Victor. We're going to see Boy not play Victor. Even though Victor top lane, yellow augment, you get all that move speed, they're going to pick Jarvan. Damn it.
It's all right. We can dream. So they do lock in Jarvan. Again, that kind of pick we have seen go both places. Vile Rose looks to get his pick, though. Rumble first.
Yeah, that's something he did not expect. And if we know Vile Rose...
You saw it on his face. He's like, all right, cool.
Wow, I get to pick this guy. I have my choice of Rumble or Kale. What do I do? And he just decided to pick Rumble because that's the more traditional top lane champion. That's bold move by Curse. Voidboy's going to have to pick something that can attack it.
Orianna, wow. Quickly locked in by Nijak. He's had a little bit more play on that lately as well. We'll see what Saint decides to lock in here, as he's kind of, they don't really have to show anything in their cards here. They can just pick a support.
Yesterday, Nijaki had the sneaky carry against COG because everyone was kind of looking at Cop and thinking how he's going to be crazy. And quietly in the background was this hyper-farmed Orianna with 300 CS and like 4-0. So he's been silently crushing on Orianna, and those are, once again, getting the Twitch away from Maple Street, very important.
That's going to be big. Cop on his Twitch coming up for Velocity, 16, 6, and 12 in the past 2 games versus them, so he's already got his killer right there.
That is a very powerful pick for them, and if this Anivia actually gets locked in for Echo, it's another one of his comforting champions. Anivia or Ahri or Lux are probably the 3 most played there for Echo.
I forgot about his Anivia,
Orianna,
that's right.
Yeah, he used to just love it, but he never played it that much on Team Marn because it didn't really mesh with their style.
Not at all.
But he's so new into this Velocity team. Maybe they've been working on something. Double AP, lots of persistent damage if they can go with Rumble. You can use your Nivea wall to wall people into an equalizer. But because he hasn't locked it in yet, I'm probably just talking for no reason.
They have the crowd control. Yep. Maybe he wants to see what else they're going to bring to the table. He wants to see where everything is going first. So they play it safe. They show a little bit, but they'll be all right.
That jerk.
So deep into the talk chain, Leeson.
Yeah, we learned this. You don't talk about things until they've been locked in here.
What is with this Zach Jarvan combo? If picked again,
it's really good.
Oh, we've seen.
Let's bounce inside the Cataclysm right now and just dong over and over again. Ooh, Everett should go with Nami once again. Yesterday he had the perfect support game. 0-0-16, 100% kill participation, and just wrecked with Twitch. You land 1 bubble, and that's a kill for Cop. They should absolutely go with this again.
Evaniscus looking to pick up the last one, and we've seen that. Zach doing so good in the top lane as they hover for Velocity here, waiting on that pick.
Of course.
He decided to go for Ahri, but we saw Zach last game against Kiwi Kid. That was Nian, and it's just the blobs allowed him to stay in lane so much. It makes it a really hard lane. You don't have to send the jungler up there.
It's incredibly difficult to work against his Rumble because, first off, Rumble, based off the heat system, can only get out like so much harassment. He can't like expend himself down and like burst you out unless you get caught on everything. And since Spirit Visage is a core item for Zach, they may or may not swap this, and we could end up talking for no reason anyway because Jarvan and Zach can swap. But because Spirit Visage is a core item for Zach, it just naturally builds in to the counter for Rumble. Bunch of magic resist, increased healing to just make his little blob pieces even more effective. That could very well be a great pick for Curse if they swap it back.
This is Velocity really putting all their eggs in one basket for the crowd control in the bottom lane with Varus and Thresh. If they're not present in a fight or in that mid game where lanes start to roam, they could actually not have a good time in those fights.
It's going to be
They'll be missing a lot of CC.
Yeah, very trying game for them. The swap was made. Voidboy is Zach in the top lane, Jarvan in the jungle, just like last game, actually.
See what Velocity can do. Last time we saw Velocity playing, or yesterday I should just say, versus Cloud9 for our first match of the day in Week 7. They were up 3-0, and then we said it was that dragon that they kind of, being up 3-0, they were kind of getting hypey, as Voidboy would say, and they were like, let's take this, and that's kind of a position they weren't in. And we saw in the spring split, positions that teams haven't been in, they falter way more than not. So we'll see if they can kind of hold their own there and still keep their feet grounded if they get a lead.
And even though Velocity is 4-14 here, they have been winners of the early game frequently. It's the trend. It's the mid game where they seem to struggle the most. If they make it out of the mid game with a lead, even if they're slow to finish, we haven't seen Velocity have huge leads late and then get come back on. Like we actually have seen a few times from Curse. The mid game is actually going to be the key of this one, most likely.
And again, they have the early, right? They have that Lee Sin. You got the Rumble ulti to come at 6, but after that, we're going to have to see if they can continue it because a lot of these guys having that caster as the AD carry may fall off towards the very late end of the game against that Cops Twitch. So we see Curse and Velocity now on to the Rift for our second matchup of the day here. We'll see what both these teams can do for a level 1.
Little bit of defensive line being played by Velocity right now, even though they're the ones with the Thresh who potentially has the level 1 edge, but because Curse is brute forcing in with 5, they're going to get their wards where they want them. They're just not going to be able to do it sneakily.
See NK Inc. landing that Sonic Wave, making sure they have nice vision. And make it, oh no, I thought they were going to have to see what Velocity Echo picked up. He actually hasn't taken a skill yet, so they could have got a charm attack there, but no positioning, and both teams are really dancing this one out. Curse is going to hatch this ward as they walk over it just below Velocity.
And Velocity may be wanting to go in for a fight here if they land any kind of hook, but they didn't. Because you could actually see Valrose has charged up into his danger zone with his Flame Spitter, so if they would have landed any kind of hook, that would have been a whole heap load of damage he could have put out on everyone from Curse.
That was a real nice piercing arrow as well. Maple Street hitting 4 of them all together, so if you were looking for the area of effect off that, he would have had it. But no engage once again. The teams really just seeing what the first few pitches are here before they take a swing.
Wow, and I just need to point this thing out because I was checking out Valrose's danger zone. With the Doran Shield start, he has 34 ability power at level 1, so his rune page is full of ability power right now, which means he's gone without much magic resist for that. He's gone ability power blues and quints.
Oh boy, getting locked up. They do the 3 invade. The passive will be popped here. Will Saint have what he takes? And it looks like he is going to stay up from that as well, so he saves the passes for lane.
It's still going to be a steal from the blue here, which is incredibly potent. Wait a minute. Okay, it's a steal for the blue, but St. Fishes still has some time to counterplay it. Voyboy getting away without actually popping his passive is going to be a huge boon for him later.
We're going to have to see what they can do in this top lane. It looks like NK Inc. will just go back into his red buff here. It does not look like they will try to give Voyboy more pressure. That flash being down means Voyboy's got to play a little careful as Edward starts to go to the bottom lane. Cop finds himself up 4 CS right now.
And we can actually see Valrose doesn't even care about the lane. He knows that there's going to be a Jarvan coming to take a buff back, essentially negating the invade by NK Inc. because they have just traded buffs here and Saint's taken the blue back.
And we do see that NK Inc. actually puts a little bit of that pressure towards the top side. You guys didn't get the passive last time, so this could be scary.
Voyboy does not have flash, so it makes it an even more dangerous gank. And there is almost no potential for anyone to come help him here. I think Voyboy just has to give this one up.
He's got good positioning, at least for himself. He's playing it safe. They say, I think somebody's going to be up here. It looks like they're going again fast turret. We do see the 3v1s in the lanes, and this is what we should expect.
So we know these guys are going to be trading turrets right off the start. They waited for the cannon minion wave, knowing that the turret is going to take a longer time to be taken down. There's not much either team could do about this unless they put the jungler up to stop it and make a 3v2, or if they roam the mid laner over.
We saw this happen a little bit last time. It's not a Yi in middle this time. It is that Ahri, so they're going to be able to fight a little bit better. And that lane is going 19 to 17. Doran's here for Echo. He likes to double Doran start in that lane to keep the wave clear going and his HP man up.
And this is the question that we have to answer every time we see a turret swap.
Yeah.
What does the team do directly after that? Apparently just catch Valrose.
Oh, Valrose walks right into the team. St. Vicious is already on the other side. It looks like first blood maybe coming in here, and it is Valrose going to Cop.
And I love how everyone waited for Cobb to trigger his expunge because they knew that was a kill secured and they trust him to carry getting those kills.
Hopefully they don't think, okay, they know they're not going to lose Dragon on this one. There is going to be some pressure though, but Velocity is not going as hard as I thought they would in this top lane, trying to go for the second turret with losing Valrose there.
At this point, they got half the turret, and they're just going to stay up here because they know they have a little bit more time. I think staying any later creates a very dangerous situation for Maple Street and Evaniscus, which is why they decided to back away.
Cop farming this one up, and with all this roaming around and whatnot, Maple Street has found himself somehow, after being 4 CS down, is a good 5, 6, 7 CS up. We'll see if he can keep that going in the top lane in this 2v1. Cop now to back. Everybody is going to look for that first dragon soon, as they were already pressured to it.
Exactly. Cop got the kill with the roaming, whereas Maple Street was just constrained to the lane, so he was trying to make it up in farming. I think the Nijaki versus Echo lane is the only matchup we've really had, because 3v1s can't necessarily be considered as matchups where someone can outplay when they just run back away from the turret. And Nijaki, I feel like, is outplaying that right now, since Jackie got peeled away to the blue buff early on in the game when St. Vicious was needing some extra help to go get that. So he actually has been playing from an experience disadvantage against Echo and hasn't let it affect his farm.
A lot of today has really been soft pressure on the mid. Both mid still with their summoners up for very long. Even their engagements in a 1v1 hasn't been so much. It's odd to see, not odd, but interesting to see that all this pressure on the side lanes causes for turrets and not as much fighting. Cop now to the mid lane. Few attacks onto Echo, but here is NK Inc on the backside. The cripple's down, but the finish, or follow-up rather, is not there.
And we're at least seeing Velocity make some pretty solid strategic choices here, really. They're pushing the bottom lane really hard with 3 because they see Voyboy is trying to freeze the other side of the map, which is why both the top and bottom lanes are together trying to make something happen.
Not much of a gold lead here, so these fights are really just based on what abilities have been leveled right now. Going back, you see Evanis is taking quite a bit of damage. Nijak out of mana though, so he's gonna have to be careful here. Forces the flash on that, which actually is big if he goes back to mid, but it looks like Cop and Edward are now faced off against Echo.
Jackie was actually gonna have to go back that wave anyway because he was out of mana. It was just a very close kill, and getting the Summoner spell out means NK Inc specifically will be able to be more aggressive in that lane if he can get a ward jump once he's level 6 on Lee Sin.
And so Echo being stopped from roaming here. We do see that Nijaki tried to make a few moves, but this was really in protection and defense. St. Vicious is now trying to do it in this lane. They're not getting too much damage onto the turret, but it looks like they will be able to take it down, as well as Voyboy pushing in the top lane, trying to get that gold back, but he's going to be met with Vile Rose.
See, even though Velocity is down the 1 kill to 0, they play the early game well. They definitely have these strategies mapped out early on, and it's working out for them here as long as Vile Rose can hold this against Voyboy, which I don't see any reason why he wouldn't.
Trade back and forth isn't really in anybody's favor there, as it's going to be Voyboy healing up and Vile shielding most of the damage. Echo on the charm, but again, they get close. They're caught in an antsy position here, and Echo's forced to use the last Spirit Rush to get out of that situation.
But that was a level 7 versus level 4, and both walked away flashing red. Obviously, Edward couldn't use his ultimate because it wasn't up yet, but that wasn't a bad thing for Cop and Edward. Landing the bubble created an opportunity and forced Echo to go all in for a kill.
A lot of early roaming going on in this game. The lanes have pretty much been stopped already. Quite a crazy and a game requiring adapting for these teams.
It's not slow, even though it looks like it could be for 1 and 0. There's definitely been a lot of fighting here, and that was a interesting Dragon choice. Basically, Velocity was fact-checking Curse's wards since they had a pink kind of inside the Dragon Pit, but it wasn't seeing the ward in the brush that Curse had, which is why they just recognized Curse, moved towards it, and got out of there.
A big push on this mid lane. It actually looks like, no, they will send defense to it with that wave coming up. We see Vile Rose coming in from the top lane here, as it's already pressured. These guys are trying to find something. It's everybody kind of just milling about. They know what to do, but it just kind of seems like they don't know where to do it.
Right now, the farm is still pretty close. Because Voyboy was able to freeze that lane in exchange for Velocity getting the bottom turret, that's why Voyboy seems so far ahead of Vile Rose in minion kills. Velocity's okay with that, though, especially with Rumble. He's the one champion that everyone who plays Rumble says, even if I don't get my farm, between level 6 and 11, my ultimate's still crushing people. I'll get the farm later. They'll catch up. And that's what Velocity's kind of keying on. Everyone talks about don't teamfight Rumble the Dragon between 12 and 16 minutes or 12 and 18 minutes, and that's exactly what Velocity will want to force soon.
I'm going to say this might be a red buff and a Dragon attempt, but Vile Rose starts to head top. I figured rather after hitting 6, they would get that equalizer down to the Dragon area. But again, they don't want to lose Dragon for a turret at this point. They are up a turret, so they're just kind of trying to hold that advantage and gain Dragon with it.
Yeah, there's so many wards in that area, as you mentioned. Double Thorns for Echo. The builds aren't quite there yet. I have to say Cop has a slight item edge onto Maple Street, but he has to be very careful with his positioning in these fights since everyone is still so squishy this early on in the game.
You can see the wards in mid as well. Saint was just sitting on that one. They were not allowed to get the gank. He returns to his jungle, still picking up his buffs as well. So it looks like Jackie did not get his. Not that he needs it, but he's been in the bottom lane farming it out.
And an interesting Madrid's Razor choice by NK Inc. Oftentimes we've seen jungle Lee Sins sometimes just start a Doran's Blade or just go straight for a Sightstone. But NK is deciding to farm a little bit more on Lee Sin and instead going for pink wards and green wards instead of just rushing that Sightstone.
So they're looking for objective control, but they haven't been able to activate
early
it
objective
yet.
control because it's actually, Sightstone is a fighting item for Lee Sin for the most part. And if you can get into it early, it's actually very beneficial for the style of Lee Sin that we see in competitive, which is tank, initiator, try to kick the priority target back.
So with what seems like a slow game, it has been 10.5 minutes in. We don't have anybody reaching the 100-minute mark at all, which would be with the next minute or so. 84 on to Cop is going to be the highest in the game as they finally do throw for that Dragon. We'll see how this Modric plays in.
Well, it was the fresh pink ward that NKN could actually just picked up. So going for objective control, getting objective control, and Voyboy maybe getting a turret back. Really, Curse is relying a little bit on Voyboy getting farmed for all the things they're giving up to Velocity right now.
It's quite a tanky turret in the top lane. Losing mid for this one may be bad, and you can see Voyboy already backing off.
If Velocity overcommits here, Curse is going to flank all around them. We have St. Vicious and Voyboy in the back. They might be able to catch Velocity in a fight here.
There's the link from the left side. Edward gets caught out. He gets charmed as well and exploded. St. Vicious, I think he was doing wraiths in the back, which took them so long to get here. Velocity throws back the chain of corruption. The crowd control is perfect coming from the bottom lane here. Evanis gets on the backside. The support's getting focused, but that leaves the ADs to do damage. But Cop was in the back, doing more than the rest. And it looks like he's helping to come out on top of that fight. Oh, actually, it's 1-1.
1-for-1. That was a very close fight there. Curse would have had an edge if they were able to all arrive at the same time because of the way they collapsed and the timing of the initiation from Edward / getting initiated on that happened to Edward when he got hit by the death sentence. The fight just became scattered. And I have to say that is a trade for both teams. Then you just have to look at who the kills went down to, and I think Cop getting a kill would be slightly better than Echo.
See where they continue off of this. Not too much was pushed. It was definitely a scuffle between both teams, and you saw how back and forth it was, which was the reason they weren't doing anything, because they were so unsure of what the result would be. 12 minutes in here. I still think they didn't really come out with an answer on that one. They know that Cop is going to be crazy in the back line. That invisibility gives him such good positioning, especially in this part of the game when he can be squished like that bug.
And once he gets the Blade of the Ruined King, the assassination potential actually opens up. So wherever Maple Street goes, he's going to have to be a little bit careful that Cop's not waiting in the wings.
Always a fun thing to consider when you're trying to multitask, farm, look at wards, and then see a guy pop up next to you. 16,000 to 17,000. That ward gets taken, or the turret gets taken down in middle. That's 3-1 now. Like we said, Velocity may be down in kills, but they do happen to catch that early game lead usually.
They're good early game, 1,000 gold. And we talked before the game saying the mid game is going to be a large decider in this one. There's no dragon to fight over directly, but even just Curse trying to farm up right now, being down 3 turrets to 1, farming without the outer ring of turrets is extremely difficult for teams, and this is the moment where Velocity needs to take an advantage over Curse.
And really, you got to give contribution to NK Inc. for the early part of Velocity's game. His movement, his capacity to jungle, their early dragon, it's consistent for him, and it's usually that reason. But you know, he's choosing he's got a champion again that may not scale into the late game. It will be more utility. Maybe that's what Velocity continues to lack towards the late game.
And everything in this Velocity composition is catered towards the mid game.
Yep.
Maple Street on Varus, since he's a bit of an AD caster as an AD hyper carry, with his spells, does tail off near the end of the game when compared to Cop. So the mid game is where the AD carries need to sit. Even just Echo and Valrose, mid game is when teams don't have huge amounts of magic resist. You got to kill people then with it.
Right.
Velocity has to win this game before 40.
And we can see the positioning and a bit of respect there given from Curse, at least on the last Dragon. They wanted to see it was there. They tried to take top turret, tried to come back on the fight, but they know Velocity, like you said, a little bit more powerful in this one. So Curse with their hard hats on, now back to this laning phase, knowing the Dragon timer at least, since they had a little bit of vision on Velocity, could help as we approach that next Dragon.
And I really wonder if Voyboy's going to decide to fight Valrose at any point here, since he's got that Spear Visage, and that's that natural counter item we knew he was going to have against him. Even if Valrose rushed Magic Penetration, it's not going to cut through Voyboy's tankiness.
113 to 107, still a very low farm game with all the motion that has been happening around the Rift on this map. 19.6 to 18.5, so we're looking at that favor for Velocity right now. They go back to pushing the lanes. The map is objective free since Baron really isn't there yet.
And when a team takes out 3 outer turrets, they need to start taking control of the enemy jungler. Otherwise, you're just allowing the team to farm with you on an even playing field and eventually take the turrets back. Velocity's got to get some deep wards inside Curse's jungle so they can start making plays.
Haven't seen too many moves from Echo. Velocity really says we want to fight in an engaged area, right? They have Rumble, they have an Ahri, they want to get these fights back at Dragon over an objective. I guess it wouldn't be in their favor to try and fight right now.
they're probably waiting for the Dragon.
Yeah.
If we're
Which
looking
hurts,
at
right?
this
Because
game.
they have to wait for mid-game. So it's like, it's just a ticking time bomb that if they miss the next one, it's going to explode in their face.
And I think Curse is positioning themselves right now to either catch Velocity in a Dragon, because sure, you can say, don't fight against Rumble at the Dragon Pit, but Curse has got a pretty good team fight as well. If we
They
just
have the
consider,
lockup,
if
yeah.
they can get that one good combo down onto Velocity, we're going to see a Dragon fight like we saw in the Cloud9 Velocity game yesterday, where everyone on Velocity just gets ripped apart at the start of it. It's not just a free win once they go for Dragon.
Going for the very
Oh,
far
no.
Classic because he locks out Voyboy. He says, let me in! Let me in! Here comes NK Inc. on the backside. 2 games in a row we've seen that played out very well by the opposing cataclysmed person.
Yeah, Valro's got just far enough away so Voyboy couldn't hop in with St. Vicious.
Oh, man.
And since Valro's flash was actually still down
Yeah,
for a
just
couple
came
more
up.
seconds, it just came back up now. I think they would have killed him if Voyboy could have made it in, but it was just a bit too far.
We'll see what the rub is
Hello.
here. Voyboy goes in for another one. Oh, I thought he punched Baron. That would have been some big damage. It's actually on to Valrose. It hits him again. Oh, he took so much extra damage, unfortunately.
Just trying to ward, and that's one of the difficulties that Velocity has taking over the game. They haven't been able to find ward positions, and it allows Curse to jump on them when they're not suspecting it.
Almost like it should make Baron worth more when you grab it. He's got kills and assists now.
Tag.
Looking for Echo. The ball's not there for the damage, and it looks like they, again, have, well, Velocity has good wards on it. We'll see what Curse can do.
Well, one way to deal with the mid-game Dragon fight against Rumble is to kill him, and then you don't have to worry about Dragon fighting against Rumble. This could be a Dragon for Curse. If Velocity can test this, it's a very dangerous fight.
That was some big damage from Maple Street right there. The wave goes out. They all dodge it on that one. They get their boogie boards out. Back to Jackie. The piercing arrow damage is not something he wants to deal with. How did that miss? It looked like it was just on the edge. A 3-man command shockwave. Saint goes in. He doesn't have the Cataclysm, but he did get the flag and drag into the fight. Echo getting hit up. The expunge is still there. It's not going to be in range. He goes on NK Inc. with a flash. The dissonance in back will not slow his attack speed. He didn't get it down with the cripple. And it's going to be Valrose thinking he can get back into the fight, but he goes down as well in a 3-for-1.
And everyone but Saint on Curse gets away with the sliver. Velocity, as they were trying to chase Curse around the bend, clumped up into a shockwave bubble combo. That's not the combo you would think about naturally, but it just destroyed Velocity and allowed Curse to get out all their damage, and that's the mid-game swing that Curse wanted.
So many wards around that dragon. We said it last game. They have so many wards around it, it should be yours, but Curse waltzed into that and walked out even happier. 6-2 now on the board. Curse grabs the lead back in terms of gold. They're still down 2 in turrets as we reach 18 minutes into the game. And like you said, without Valrose being there, it was the chance Curse needed to take.
And having the wards down before that hurts twice as much, because that was Velocity's game plan. And it got completely taken away from them.
That was the ticking time bomb.
Not what they needed right there.
Looking at these items. Already Saint going 2 of those cloaks, trying to get some magic resistance in. All the tankiness coming out of Voidboy. That Sunfire cape almost finished. You see Cop on the Valrose in the top lane. We were just waiting, you sneaky rat.
He snuck up next to him, and that's the fear that the Blade of the Rune King assassination Twitch puts on. As soon as you try to just push up lanes, Valrose felt a little safe. And it's funny because Valrose has actually had pretty good games in the top lane since he started playing there on champions that no one thinks he can play. Everyone respects his Rumble for the most part, and now he's having his worst game of the split.
They are going to focus that no matter what, over and over again. He's going to be a bit more uncomfortable than everybody else. If it's something you need to, if it's something you're looking for, then you can find it right there. We'll see if the team can get back behind him. We still have seen Vile come back very much so in these fights. He is also Rumble. He's done it on Shen, just to make the fact that it's not going to be the Rumble ulti to do it. So we'll see what they do as Curse looks again for another one of these kills in the top lane.
I really wonder kind of what's going through Valrose's mind right now, just because you have a champion that you love playing so much. So as soon as it becomes available to you after being banned out forever, you think, I know exactly how to play this guy. But once again, once you have a main that gets banned all the time, you actually stop practicing it. And that may have been what happened to Valrose here, because he just doesn't have the comfort level. And the team, Velocity, doesn't have the comfort level playing with it since they haven't been allowed to for so long.
Gonna have to work in the buddy system here. Every time this starts to happen, at least I know, you kind of want to get that more farm. You put yourself into that spot because you say, if I can get this, then you get ganked again. We saw it happen to him there, and now we see that NK Inc.'s going to kind of be roaming with him towards that top lane a bit before he backs.
And it's so difficult for them to farm as well, just because of the 4-0-2 Twitch that is stalking his prey again and again. So close to even that Infinity Edge, and it reflects in the play of Velocity right now. Despite being up in turrets, Velocity has turtled into their own base and actually kind of giving up position in their own jungle.
Oh, and Kang throws the ward down, actually hits the backside of the little lizard, so they are going to make it away with the red buff. Valrose, a very nice ultimate with the command shockwave, stops the re-engage. You can see a great flash Tempest coming in, slowing down Jackie, slowing down Edward, and they start to just demolish this fight.
That is one way to get a team out of your jungle. You just go and kill them. That was a great equalizer by Valrose there, and Curse completely bailed out because it was a fight they got initiated on when they were 4v5 since Voyboy is off split pushing the other side. Cop is on the run. I feel Velocity is trying to stalk him down.
No!
Juke.
That was like one of those things, you're at the school play, he's like, right behind you, he's right behind you, grab him! They do get the hail of arrows and the flay in. That's a big shutdown for Maple Street.
And that's what Maple Street needed to get back in this game. He has to be able to create some late game carry potential. We know if Maple Street has a good game, Velocity generally wins, and this is a very close game that Maple Street has to turn into a good one.
We'll see what he can continue to do here. We have said Maple Street has the variety to play multiple champions, so his skill set through the roof at times. And VES is one of those high count champions he has been on along with his Draven. So definitely in his hands to carry this one if he can keep it going. The shutdown is only 1-0-2, but that came with a lot of gold.
It accelerated him to that last Whisper. He was sitting on about a longsword before that, and he could just buy it straight up. He only has 100 gold left, meaning if he didn't get that kill on Cop, it would have been a whole nother trip, couple extra waves that he had to farm, and he wouldn't have had that last Whisper for potentially this next Dragon fight that will be the second mid-game fight Velocity has a chance to take some control in.
Jackie not feeling Zanya's like this game, as it's really not a dive team to him. They're looking for Cop, so he's going for that damage. He's going for the shield power into Rabadon's, coming up with his next buy. As we look around, still Saint just stacking up the magic resistance, and he looks like he will be building up his team that bulwark next.
It's absolutely necessary against Rumble Ari to get that bulwark, which is why he has the double no magic right now, since he will eventually upgrade both of them, but he needed the personal magic resistance first, since he's always the one going in first.
Oracle's being picked up here on Edward. That Oracle's being persistent now through death with its recent change. We'll see how they utilize that as they lose right now the bottom turret. But this is now with Baron up 23 minutes into the game, so there is the pressure of that on the map after any fight going awry.
And Voyboy is again trying to sneak up from the flank here on Velocity. That's why Velocity's pulled back, because they sense him coming. This game has actually been a lot of Voyboy farming away from Curse and then Velocity taking advantages for it. Voyboy needs to make his team fight impact felt if they want to make that farm worth it.
It's so scary watching them try to get away. They keep punching up so much if St. Vicious can get in with the flag. Oh my gosh, a wombo combo. There's nothing else to say about it. Velocity gets destroyed.
That was so well executed by Curse right there. Flashing in for the let bounce, meaning Velocity couldn't get rid of him, and then hello, Oriana Ball. Everyone got exploded.
Ridiculous engagement. We now see the power that these guys are bringing to the table. The repetition of the Zac and Jarvan composition being used over and over in compositions today.
And they make the bold call to run straight to Baron. The Dragon was up, and that was a fight in the bottom lane, but they realized they won it so cleanly.
Like I said, if anybody dies here, this is bad.
Let's go run across the map and try to take this thing. The only thing that could stop this would be a Maple Street piercing arrow.
From base.
Saint's got a smite. He's getting a little low, though. Look, do not die to this Baron.
Okay, oh my gosh, he actually almost got there in time, and that was without home guard, so he was trucking.
Well, I still think that was a great call by Curse. Not only
crazy
to make the fight happen, keeping up with Velocity as they were falling back, and then Voyboy to initiate way in front of his team. They got the Baron afterwards.
And we actually have a replay of that fight in the bottom lane just to see how Curse pinched them in and prepped this fight.
It was clean. Voyboy flashes in to get the first knock-up, and then he kind of pushed them out just so the Oriana Ball could take him back in.
And the wave.
Everything else is just gravy after that. It doesn't matter how well Velocity tries to counter-initiate, because 3 people got killed almost immediately.
An amazing initiation we see coming into this game so far from Curse, and you have to consider, yeah, that's a team fight one, but that puts fear into Velocity. How do you dodge that? Because that Zac could miss, and then it's the Jarvan, or the Oriana Ball could miss, and they still have the Zac. There are so many options for Curse right now.
Velocity's not going to want to push a lane like that ever again, because that just means Voyboy can come from the flank, from behind them, and just take them out. It means they can't contest this Dragon, since Curse already had a Baron, and they know Curse has gained so much since that last team fight destruction. What's Velocity really going to do in the next one?
Velocity is definitely going to hold onto their butts and go full force because it's what they need to do. Coming up onto 26 minutes, they're 6K behind. We've definitely seen worse. And at 26 minutes, 6K is sitting on that verge of the next fight will teeter way too much in the favor of Curse. So if they can break down the next fight or stop something from happening big, which is going to have to be after Baron, Velocity still very much has a chance in this one.
They got a lot of work to do, though.
Yes.
This is the mid-game that has been the Achilles heel of Velocity this entire split. They had the early game in control, and they had a mid-game team comp. Curse also had a very strong mid-game team comp, and Curse just outplayed them so far.
We'll see what they decide to do. Looking at them, 2 minutes left on this Baron, so we'll see that spawning a good 3 minutes, about 5 minutes from now, if you will, altogether. Jackie, you can see 57 kills, 62, that's 17 assists coming into this split, and really, while you're playing an Orianna like this, you can see the impact he has on helping the fights. The kills go to Cop.
He's really been picking up his game lately as well with these Orianna plays. I actually expect Curse to think about diving, or at least threaten the dive, and dare Velocity to take them down. What Curse is going to do now is they're going to try to get 6 turret kills before their Baron is out, which means they'll take out the outer turrets and all these waves. If Velocity tries to defend the non-inhibitor turrets, that's when Curse has the opportunity to dive.
There's so much strength in Voyboy just charging up Elastic Slingshot. You can see Velocity takes it into consideration. It's not a joke whatsoever because Saint can come over the wall. There are crazy things. Cop's going to come out of nowhere, and he's getting ready to look for that. This wave, Velocity doesn't even want to play with this.
These are incredibly difficult turrets to defend, which is why they were kind of there for moral support, and then they realized Curse meant business, and they have to just back away.
Yeah, these outer turrets are pretty much, or they have Curse's name on them right now. If they wanted to go to top, they would do that without a minion wave. Cop looking
maybe
to
sneak attack?
Thought he was trying. There's definitely a bit of crowd control that can single him out. That was a big hit there. Wow, that dissonance took about half of Evaniscus' health along with a sonic wave. They
could have straight up killed Evaniscus. If Jackie decided to use his Orianna right there, it would have been a kill. But Curse wanted to save it because they want that to get a team, not just a support. Curse is sticking around here. They got a little bit left on this Baron buff, and because they're sticking around and not going to the other side for the other outer turret, I expect to dive on the next wave.
There it is. Voyboy from the back line. The ballista goes in, but they flash out of it. I don't think it's going to be enough for Velocity here. The wave after the Cataclysm, after the Let's Bounce, and it's Saint taking the turret for his team. He gets the ball on him for a second, but it's moved for damage as well off of Jackie. They continue the fight. Velocity's doing a perfect job at kiting. They need this turret to fight. They've done a good job, but they lost the turret, which means Curse is just too strong at this point.
And even though their Baron wore off halfway through that fight, you could just see the strength of Curse in that fight. The ballista combo missed. Orianna ball hit nothing, but everybody else hit a whole bunch. Voyboy was still bouncing around and had enough damage to kill nearly everyone on Velocity, or at least push them off the turret, and it was a good dive and call overall by Curse.
And we can see just how slow this game has kind of gone. There are kills. We're getting to the late game here, but it's only 2 core items for Curse that they're fighting with right now. And it's 2 core items that come into 30 minutes. You usually see the third one at least being pieced together. So the game is slow, but everybody's managing to fight at this level still.
Yeah, well, if Curse is only sitting on a couple items, that means Velocity's sitting on even less.
Yeah, exactly.
With all the roaming that happened early on in the game, the farm totals were low, and since it was roaming without kills, it degenerated the gold value overall for the game. The game time doesn't actually matter aside from death timers and the strengths of some of the minions. So it's fine for these guys. It's the lead that matters.
See in the Sunfire Cape, Void Staff coming in for Voyboy here. He wants to add a little extra damage to here. And you kind of see those builds come in when you know you have that gold lead.
He is tanky enough. Might as well build some damage. And he's got full, just the best penetration build he has. The flat pen and the percent pen for magic damage are all multipliers to his damage. Since Zach has such high base damage and not incredibly high ratios, that is the highest damage build Voyboy can actually go for. It actually makes his Sunfire Cape hit for even more as well, since it's magic damage.
All the pain coming from the blob right now. It's super unstable. 7-3 in turrets. Like we say, 11 are on the map, so you're looking 4 more in the eyes of Curse to drop down the base, and then the Nexus. They don't need all of them, just the 2 in front of the Nexus right now.
And even though Curse doesn't have the Baron buff this time, based on the success of their last dive, I wouldn't be too surprised if they try this one again. They know Voyboy can initiate from everywhere, and they know that they burned Echo's and Evaniscus's flashes in the last team fight, so they have a bit of freedom to go in if they want to.
This is getting a little more into a hectic gang too. We see the wards coming out now, but if you look at the map, hardly any wards have been placed recently. The oracles are out, but there's also nothing to clear. So these teams are like, we need to fight, we need to figure out how to stop Cursor now, then we can ward.
And both these teams will remember the tremendous comeback that Velocity had against them. When Velocity was down 8 turrets to 2, they're actually better off in turrets this game is when they came back and won. So Curse is gonna, I think, make sure they have a bit of poke before they go in, or they say screw it and dive.
Right into the back line! So much damage just went onto Maple Street. That Void Staff pen build from Voyboy crushed the AD. They are getting out right now, actually laying on top of that equalizer, but they're able to split it. Echo and team do a good job of stopping that for now, but it's still rolling into the base.
That's one way of flying in. Just go well past the remainder of the team, and because of the damage build, he was able to, him and St. Vicious, destroy Maple Street far away from the rest of the team. And then the other 3 weren't even really fighting. They were just taking the turret and the inhibitor, and they walk out of the base with another successful push.
And we actually see builds coming up. Deathfire Grasp, Lich Bane onto Echo. So these guys will have, with that double AP comp, you're also going to get slower turret pushing. So that will assist in that. If Velocity can do what they did last time, get that last kill, get the timers at 50 seconds in the Death Chamber and go for it. With Baron very low right now, 2200 HP. It's not going to be the death sentence to take it down. Saint nails the smite. There's a mouthful.
That was another situation where the enemy jungler was dead, so there was no full risk of a smite still coming in. Smart Baron for Curse, and they've had smart calls really this entire game.
A lot of smart play coming from any team that's been in the lead today. They're not doing anything crazy. Yesterday we did see, call back to a few of the Dragon fights that went awry, but every team isn't pressuring their advantage. They're pushing it slowly and making sure it slowly gets there. They don't have to push anything after a team fight, and they're knowing it now. It works out better, though.
And we talked before the day, this is a big day for Curse. They win 2 games, they move back to 10-10. Kind of a clean slate as the season moves on towards them. They also try to pull themselves ahead of Dignitas. They will pull ahead of Dignitas with this win. They'll tie themselves with COG. These things really matter for their position in playoffs and securing themselves a spot or a chance to go to the World Finals if they just secure themselves top 6.
And it's crazy to think you may hear your favorite teams, saying, we hope to get second, because Cloud9 is so far up there that that's what these guys are shooting for right now, and it's going to be enough for them. Voyboy and team trying to do that right now. 232 CS on him, 247 right on Nijaki. These guys are ready, poised to fight to get in to the back line. NK Inc with the ward and the kickback, but St. Vicious does the same thing.
Wow.
It's a pretty good engagement, a very split Velocity team, not taking too much damage, but they're not giving it back either. They are being pushed around in a very chaotic fight.
Yeah, and it's a double kill for Maple Street, but there's still a lot of Curse power coming through. Got to see how this fight continues, because Curse still has a couple threats up.
Oh, Flash coming in for Echo. Wanted to get that charm just behind Voyboy and Nijaki, but the Flash is now down. These guys are going to be working with their last inhibitor going down. As well, they got the bottom one up, so they're going to have to take that first, I guess.
And that was kind of a fight without Cop, because to NK Inc.'s credit, he did get a great kickback into the team, and they were able to burst down Cop, but there's so much more damage between Voyboy and Nijaki that it still gave Curse inhibitor number 3 and their 3rd successful base push in as many tries.
So is this Curse just kind of keeping them on the ropes and playing it safe, or could they have ended by now?
They could have ended if Cop didn't die that fight. So it's not a bad thing that Cop died, because they still got the 3rd inhibitor, and they still have some duration left on that Baron buff for the people who lived in that fight. As soon as everyone on Curse reses up, I expect them to run straight to the base and try to end the game.
Few of these final builds coming out. Probably going to see some elixirs start. Cool. Youmu's on Maple Street.
May as well.
May as well.
Get that extra armor penetration.
Crushing attack speeds. We'll see what they can do with that. Going for that all-out build. It is definitely coming down to the last and final threat here for Velocity. They are pushed down to their final 2 Nexus turrets, 9-3 on overall structures in the map. 18-8 is the score, and a coming up on big gold lead. It's about 12.
Yeah. It's actually kind of funny how Cobb had the pickaxe as he was moving towards the last Whisper. And then he also realized, wait a minute, no one on Velocity is building armor, plus I just died that fight. Let's start building a Banshee's Veil as they move into this final fight.
The Abyssal Scepter there for Vile Rose. The Magic resistance being built on a Nightjacker for these last fights. They don't want anything to give these guys the upper hand in auras or whatnot. That double AP can still do some good damage in this fight. The turret damage, however, is there for Curse still. Voyboy trying to put himself in the front line. He's on the back, but looking for that ballista. Saint just walking himself in. They're getting damage on the turret, but nothing's happening.
There's too many minions in the base, and Velocity does not want to fight. Last-ditch effort.
Velocity goes in when they lose the Nexus turrets. This is not going to go right for them, but there's no focus on the Nexus. They do get a few. A piercing arrow from the back line. A very nice shot, but it may be too much. Flooding the base are the minions of Curse. The Nexus will go down. Curse finally finds that win in a very well-played game.
Curse played great in that one. 6-1-10 for Voyboy, 10 kills again for Cop. Very aggressive style once they started having the lead. No hesitation about going in. That's how Curse wants to play.
Watch yourself in there.
You can see Velocity not happy with that Vile Rose, talking it out. There's still a smile on the face. You got to say, you know, it's kind of like that, damn, that was a good game. We got to figure out what happened there, though, because we did, again, have the early lead, and then Curse swung it real fast.
And Vile Rose in particular, getting the rumble that he's been wanting this entire split, and then having the 1-7 game, because we talked about that Voyboy versus Vile Rose matchup. All through the early game, Velocity was taking objectives and letting Voyboy farm up. In exchange, it didn't pay off for them because Voyboy really made it count, and Vile Rose could never pull back his farm after giving so much up for the team.
It's, I guess, looking at these compositions, it was kind of thwarted, putting all the crowd control in the bottom lane with a Varus and a Thresh when you had that Zac. Voyboy was headstrong in every initiation. Some of them even looked blind. Like, he's like, Fog of War here, it looks like they might be here. Fog of War dive.
Time to go.
Time to go.
Zac jumps really far. That's a pretty solid champion for Voyboy to be on. He loves initiating, and if you give him the power to, he's going to do it every time and usually make the right decision.
6-1-10, so his passive did go down that game. He had such an amazing play coming out, and the Jarvan-Zac combo is kind of going to make an appearance here and doing some big things for these teams. We'll have to see if it continues to come up in the LCS. All right, guys, we've got to take a short break, but when we return, Curse's Comp will join us to talk about how they've been able to turn their summer around. And then it's our third match of the day, the showdown between Team Solo Mid and Cloud9. The North American League Championship Series will be right back. Don't touch that browser.